Hey guys, it's Luna from Full Moon Audios, and today I'm doing another Loopy Luna ramble. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but I do like a good ramble. I like to talk about some things, and I'm not really going to talk about politics or anything like that because, it's just too many people talk about that already. Like, you don't need to hear that from another person, right? And I respect that everyone has their different views and opinions, so there's no need for me to, poke at that or anything. Anyway, today's topic is about communication. I've been thinking about doing this for a while because I think, but in reality, the fact of the matter is communication is really important in life. Communication is a part of everything in life. Pretty much, there's always a way of communicating things. In every situation in life, whether you're using your words, you're using your body language, even simply eye contact, communication is in almost everything. And it is so important. And, that's what we're going to be talking about. Well, what I'm going to be talking about to you. You can always comment down below with if you guys agree with what I say, if you have different ideas or opinions, then definitely, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'm always reading comments, always responding as much as I can. So, let's get into it. So, with communication, like I said, it's in almost everything in life. Like, every time I hear about a problem, I can always put it down to a breakdown in communication of some variety, It's almost every problem is a communication issue at its core, or at least as one of the causes, It's whether someone misunderstood or misinterpreted what someone said or did, or if someone just said something in the heat of a moment and it was a really stupid thing to say or just inappropriate at the time, whatever it is. So many things can be broken down to communication, and it can be so insanely frustrating because I'll be watching the news or I'll be listening to the radio and they start talking about an issue about how so-and-so is being so mean or things just aren't working out, or on the radio when they have people call up and talk about their days and it's like, oh, I'm having this problem, blah, blah, blah. And just almost every time there is a simple solution of communication. It's just a matter of being more clear and concise. And I know it's easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that communication's easy. By a long shot, communication can be extremely difficult, which is why it is in so many things in life, involved in so many things, as well as being at least one of the causes of so many problems. I know communication is a very complex and difficult thing at times. Sometimes it can be really easy. Sometimes it can be the hardest thing that you can do. And I can appreciate that. Myself included, I am by no means a perfect communicator at all. I stuff up my communication all the time. Whether I don't talk enough, whether I word things really badly, or I get caught up in the moment in my head or whatever's going on and I say something stupid. We're all human, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing if that happens. Again, we're all human. We're not perfect. Perfection is a bullshit concept created by humankind. I've rambled about that before, so I'm not going to ramble about that again. You know how I feel about perfection and normalcy and all that shit. So we're not going to go into that. But basically my point being is everybody is responsible for communication. Everyone has moments where they don't communicate well or don't communicate at all. That might be by choice. It might be an accident. It might be something that just didn't even get thought about at the time. It just happened. As things do, sometimes things just happen and you can't see the future. You can't predict what's going to happen as a result. Not all the time. Sometimes it can be more obvious than other times, but you can't be expected to have ESP. You can't be expected to know exactly what is going to happen based on what you said or what you did every single time. And if you worried about that every day of your life, it would be incredibly stressful. So, it's just, that's no way to live. But anyway, getting back to it. Like I said, there are so many different ways to communicate, right? Like, it's not just the words that you say. And even with your words, there is so much detail in just speaking, because it isn't just speaking. That's the thing. You can say 1,000,000 words in a day, and that's all fine and dandy. You could say that that's communicating. But ask yourself, how did you say those words? What words did you use? What tone did you use? What message was held behind those words? Or, like, how did you intend for that to come across? There is so much minute detail in the simple act of talking. And again, beyond talking, there is still communication so much more with your body language. Simply how you stand or sit communicates so much to other people. Even just something as detailed as eye contact. Just the way that you look at someone can say so many things in one look, even if you don't mean it to. Even if you're just caught up in your head, but you look at someone, and maybe you're not meaning to look at someone, you're looking at the space in between, but you just so happen to coincidentally look in the direction of a person, and they notice how you're looking at them. They see it as you looking at them, they notice your eye contact, the way that you look, or the way that you are looking at them, and it communicates so much. It can communicate how you're feeling. It can communicate how you might feel about them. Maybe they think that you hate them, or that you don't like how they look, or what they're wearing, or whatever. It can communicate so many things, and it leaves so many things open to interpretation, as I just gave an example of them, because if it's a complete stranger, for example, or even if it's a friend, if you just look at them out of the blue with this look on your face or in your eyes, it leaves it open to interpretation, unless you tell them exactly what's on your mind. But, I don't expect you to do that with complete strangers or even with your friends all the time, because, that's a lot, and everyone needs their privacy, right? So, not going into that. But exactly that point, though, is that there is so much in communication. It's not just a simple, flat term. It's not a blanket term where it's just talk, move around, simple. No, that's not how it is at all. And I can appreciate that, because, again, that's how it involves itself in so much in life. It's involved in every situation that I can think of that involves even not necessarily other people. It can just be you and, I guess it involves a person if you're on the phone, but even when you're with a pet, for example. Right now, I've got my cat on my lap, and he is sleeping, or trying to, and, he's probably picking up vibes from me, I'm picking up vibes from him, a lot of which say that he is tired, and if he's not sleeping already, then he's telling me he really wants to sleep and he wants me to shut up. And he's been making a habit lately of coming to me right when I'm about to start recording. So it's pretty good timing on his part, because he's like, I want to sleep, and I'm like, I need to record. But anyway, again, it's about communication. But, you need to be so mindful about these things. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect. Again, no such thing as perfection. We are human. I fully expect that every single one of us is going to make a mistake, one way or another, at least once in our lives. And with communication, you're going to make a mistake more than once. You might even make the same mistake more than once. And that's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person if you make a mistake. Or if you make the same mistake more than once. As long as you learn from it in the long term, then that's great. But it doesn't make you the worst person in the world if you make the mistake more than once before you learn. Because sometimes that's just how life is. That doesn't make you a bad person. You're just human. You are who you are. And, some people learn faster than others. And sometimes it's just one of those lessons where it needs to be applied a couple of times before the message gets across, or before the lesson gets across. It's just a simple matter of life. Or a matter of fact. It's it doesn't make you a bad person if you stuff it up along the way. You're not a fuck up. You're not a bad person. You're just learning. And it's so important. Like, learning, you're always going to learn in life. You are a person. You are always going to learn new things in life, both through communication, through education, through just basic life experiences. You are going to learn through everything that you do in life. And that is no different with communication. You are always going to be learning when it comes to communicating, whether you're talking with a new person in your life, or whether you're just on the train on the way to work or on the way home from school, work, wherever. Communication is in everything, and you're always going to learn something new about communication, whether you're learning about someone else's ways of communicating, whether you're learning about someone's boundaries or limits or triggers, for example. Because triggers are so specific, like it can be so specific, and that interjects into communication a lot as well. And again, it's all a learning experience, but communication is so very important simply because of that, because you can learn so much from it, and because there is so much held within that. It's so important. And so many people take it for granted. So many people don't understand how important proper communication is. Active listening, expressing yourself properly without necessarily being aggressive, because that's the thing. A lot of people revert to aggression because they're tired, or because they feel like they've repeated themselves and they hate repeating themselves, or they don't feel like they're being listened to. But aggression is one of the worst things you can do when you're trying to communicate, especially when it's something important, because aggression just feeds onto aggression. Aggression is like fire. Once you light that, it just burns and it destroys things. And that is how relationships break down. It is how problems spread or become bigger than what they were. You can make mountains out of molehills simply because you were aggressive when you just needed to be clear, concise, and maybe assertive, but not aggressive. And it is so important. It is so, so very important. And again, it's not about being perfect. Everyone's going to get grumpy sometimes. Everyone's going to be short sometimes. And that's perfectly fine. But the fact of the matter is, we all need to learn from that. We need to know when it's good to be assertive, when you need to be assertive in order to get your message across, and when you can be calm. And yes, maybe sometimes in life there will be a need for aggression. Maybe sometimes aggression might be needed, but those times are so fewer than everything else. And maybe it doesn't feel like that at times, but honestly, the difference between assertive and aggressive is what makes that difference there. You can be assertive and get your message across without being aggressive, and that can still get you what you want or what you need. And even if it doesn't, sometimes you just need to accept the fact that you're not going to get that right now. You might get it further down the line, but not right now. Or maybe you won't get it at all. But either way, it's all about just learning and applying that knowledge as you go, and just accepting things for how they are. So, yeah, it's just, when you're communicating with people, obviously you need to be clear with them. Whether it's just you saying that you want something, or about how you feel about what someone said, or about how someone looked at you or treated you, or if it's a personal problem, if you're going up to a friend or a family member with this personal issue, or like this other thing that's going on in your life, and it could be a really big thing, or at least feel like a really big thing, and you just need to make sure that you're very clear about it, and don't beat around the bush, and just be concise. Be so clear about what you need or what you want, because no one has ESP. No one's going to be able to guess what you want or what you need in your life. You need to be able to tell people. And granted, like some people might be really good at reading other people, and they might be able to interpret what you're trying to get across without you getting the words out, or before you get the words out. And kudos to those people, because that's great. It's a great skill to have. But again, it's so important just to be clear with people. And again, even when you're the person being spoken to, if someone's coming to you with a really personal problem, or if they had a fight with a friend, or if they're telling you something that's really personal, whether it's like sexual orientation, or whether it's, the fact that they think that they're going to break up with their partner, or they have a crush on someone, or whatever, like they've got a new job, they've got this big news of some description, good, bad, or otherwise, and they're coming to you with that. You need to be able to actively listen and communicate with them, because those sort of situations can be so fragile. And we don't necessarily realize that until we're either in the moment or until afterwards. And it's afterwards that can catch us, because if it ends up going down, if the situation gets out of hand and you don't realize how different things could have been until afterwards, they're the situations that hurt the most. They're the situations that end with, relationships that break down, or people who say they grow apart, or something like that. It's so many things can go wrong, and it's so important for us to be aware of these things, because there's just so much negativity in the world. And I know not all of that is communication based, even though a lot of problems do break down to communication in the end. There's a lot of shit going down in the world. I don't need to tell you guys that. We already know that. It's everywhere in the media, even on social media. But because there is so much negativity, we need to focus so much on pushing the productive and positive things in life. We need to focus on working on these things to make them better. What we can change is what we need to work on, because if we don't, then who will? And something like communication, it seems like a really small thing. It seems like this silly umbrella term that's like, oh, just because I communicate better with my family or my friends, it's not going to save the world. It's not going to bring world peace. No, it's not. But you know what it is going to bring? It's going to bring peace between you, your friends, and your family. It's going to bring a change, because people will understand you better. You will understand them better. There are so many things that come from that, because it's not a small thing. It seems like a small thing, but it has a ripple effect, because that one conversation, that one drop of water, that communication, that conversation that you have with a family or friend that goes well, the ripple effects just grow from there. And, they might come to you more with these sort of conversations, or you might feel like you can go to them now because you have this deeper connection with them, and you feel like you can trust them. Trust is built from communication. So many things are built from communication. Communication is like a foundation base, just like trust. And good communication is such a strong thing in life. It is a weapon that can either be used for mass good in the world or mass destruction. And it is so important that we use it for the right thing. So, like if you're sitting there and you're talking with a friend, if you've got a lot on your mind at the time and they're trying to have an important conversation with you, be open and honest about that. Don't sit there and devote yourself to this conversation knowing that you've got a short patience or short temper at the moment, and take a chance at snapping at them when they're being open and vulnerable to you, or when they're trying to share good news, for example. Like, don't let your bad mood or whatever's happened to you in the day spread onto them, because again, that's the ripple effect there, is if you don't communicate that you are not in the best frame of mind right now, if you don't communicate that, like, to them, that you aren't in the best mood, and like at least let them be aware of how you're feeling, it can just cause so many issues, and it's so unnecessary. Like, you do not need to tell them everything in the world. I'm not saying that you need to go into every detail about what happened in your day to make you feel like shit, or make you just not be in the mood to talk to people. All I'm saying is that you just need to be clear with them so that they know, because the last thing that anybody needs is to end up in an argument just because you wouldn't say what was going on or just how you're feeling. And the same goes for the other person in the conversation. Like if you're approaching someone and you're trying to tell them something really deep and personal, or if you're like really upset at the time or really anxious, and you're, maybe you're feeling a bit uncomfortable or a bit exposed or vulnerable by talking about this, but you really feel the need to talk about it, then be honest about that. Be honest about how you feel and where your head is at and where your heart is at. Like, you need to be honest with people. Honesty is so important. You need to be clear with them because, again, nobody has ESP. Nobody can look in your head and know exactly what's going on. And again, it's not about perfection, not by a long shot. You just need to try. You need to tell people where you're at. If you don't have the patience or the ability to have a certain kind of conversation, or if you can't listen to someone right now because you've got your own shit to deal with, tell them that. And if you're having a hard time communicating what's going on, tell them that. Like, say, I'm having trouble expressing myself right now or finding the right way to talk about this, to tell you about it. Be honest about that, because no one's going to hate you for that honesty. No one's going to judge you for not being able to immediately say exactly what you mean every single time. No one's going to judge you for not being able to have certain types of conversations on a particular day. Like, you can just say, hey, I'm not in a good space right now. Can we have this conversation later on today or maybe tomorrow? No one's going to hate you for that. They'll appreciate the fact that you were so honest with them, because they would rather have that conversation when you're in a better state of mind than to end up potentially arguing because you said something in response that might have come across a bit narky or aggressive and they took that to heart, or maybe you misinterpreted something they said simply because you're not in the best mood or state of mind, and again, that causes some sort of problem. It is better to be in a better frame of mind and to be honest about that and have a better time of it, like, you have a clearer conversation, you have a better result. It is better to communicate and be clear with someone, because that can save so many things in life. It can solve so many problems and prevent so many problems. We don't need more problems in life. And if it's that easy to prevent them, then why don't we do that? Why aren't more people doing that? That's something that I ask myself every day. When I hear about more problems that could simply have been resolved with a matter of communicating, I just ask myself, why are people so against preventing this when it is so easy? And I'm not saying every conversation is easy, or even communicating in general. Sometimes it can be difficult. I'm not saying it's easy 100% of the time, but if you compare the difference here, fighting and losing a friend or someone even closer versus having a potentially difficult conversation, one of them can lead to a lot of heartache, a lot of pain and discomfort, and have ripple effects, because if you have mutual friends, they could feel torn as a result, or maybe you feel torn as a result. It can become a mountain out of a molehill, basically. And if you compare that to just having a difficult conversation, you might feel awkward or vulnerable for a few minutes and maybe a little bit afterwards, but eventually you'll feel better for it, and the relationship will do better for it. When you think about it like that, the conversation option seems a lot easier to me, and it prevents so much negativity, so many problems. When you compare it like that, when you look at the bigger picture, it is easier to do that. And I'm not saying that it's not scary. It is scary. I mean, I've had conversations where I've been nervous and scared to bring it up. Like, I've been anxious as hell. Ask the people that I talk to. Like, I've even said to them at the very start of the conversation, I'm really nervous about talking about this. I'm scared at the moment. This thing that's going on in my life is scary, and me opening myself up is even scarier. I don't like being vulnerable. I don't like that feeling at all, and I don't know many people that do. And I'm not saying that you have to be vulnerable 100% of the time. You don't. All you have to do is be honest with yourself and with others, and be clear. You don't have to give all the details of every single thing in your mind and in your life to everybody. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is that when you're talking to someone, just be clear with them and be honest with them, because honesty is the best policy. And that is the segue onto the next part, because Another thing that is a constant in communication problems is lying. Whether it's a white lie or a doozy of a lie, lies are not okay. Honesty really is the best policy, even if the truth hurts. The truth is going to hurt. Sometimes that's just a matter of life. I've learned that several times. I still do. Everybody does. Everybody's going to have that experience in their life several times, even if we don't want it, because sometimes that's just how life is. Life can hurt. The truth can hurt. But the truth is much better than a lie. A lie is like a drug. It's like a poison, because as much as, you might feel better for covering yourself by telling that lie, or you might think that the person you lied to feels better because of that lie, eventually it's going to start hurting. Eventually it's going to take effect, because either the person you lied to finds out that you lied through someone else, or maybe yourself, or through some sort of circumstance, they find out the truth, or because the circumstances of the lie just make things bad, Like, there are so many things that can happen, and in all honesty, why would you want to lie? Why would you want to resort to that? Are you really protecting the person that you're lying to? Or are you just trying to make yourself feel better because it makes you look like a better person, or it makes you feel like a better person for 5 minutes? Why are you lying? Why are you deciding to lie? Why are you against being honest with this person? Like, even something as simple as talking to someone. If you don't want to talk to the person, be honest. Don't say you're busy. Don't say, I'll be right back. I'm just getting some stuff done and then we can talk. Don't bullshit people. If you don't want to talk to someone, tell them. I've been on that. I've been on the receiving end of that. I've been on both sides of that fence, okay? I've been on the receiving end of people who keep telling me that they're busy, or they keep telling me, I'll just get this done and I'll be back, or, in an hour or two, I'll be able to talk and we'll be cool. And I'm not saying that that's never the truth. I know for a fact in life, people get busy. And sometimes you can be busy for a long time. And I appreciate that. I know that there are situations where that is a matter of fact. But I also know that the I'm busy card is the easiest card to play when it comes to not wanting to talk to someone. And I admit, in the past, I've used that as well. And I'm not proud of that, because, when you're on the receiving end, you realize how much that sucks. Because it does. It hurts. It's like, I would rather you just simply tell me that you don't want to talk right now than tell me that you're busy, and then, I see that you're chatting up with this many other people, or you're doing all this other stuff that's going on. It's like, if you don't want to talk, or you just specifically don't want to talk to me, tell me. And the same goes for you. I will tell you that. If I don't want to talk to you, or just I don't want to talk in general, I will tell you that. I will be honest with you. And I know that it sucks. Sometimes it can be like, it leaves you thinking, oh, did I do something wrong? Or something like that. And, in some situations, maybe that's the case, but it's not always the case. Sometimes you just don't want to talk to people. And everybody gets that way sometimes. Sometimes you just don't want to talk. Or you just don't want to talk to a particular person. And that doesn't necessarily mean the person did something wrong. You just don't want to talk to them. And there's no reason why you can't be honest about that. So, people need to stop pulling the easy cards and just be honest about it. Or even when it comes to hanging out with people, the same thing. Don't pull the I'm busy card. Don't say, oh, in a couple of weeks, touch back and we'll think about it. Don't bullshit. Come on. If you have no intention of hanging out with this person, or if you're going to be busy for longer than that, whatever the case is, whatever the truth is, come out with it. Just say it, mate, because these people deserve the truth. I deserve the truth. You deserve the truth. We all do. We don't deserve to be treated like some item on a list of things to deal with or dismiss, dismissal is such a shitty thing to do to a person. And, you might think that lying to this person is the better option because you're not hurting them or you're not hurting yourself. You're avoiding a confrontation or whatever. But in reality, you're not. Because at the end of the day, lies hurt way more than the truth. I would rather you be honest with me and tell me that you don't want to talk to me or hang out with me than for you to say something else like you're busy or, yeah, let's hang out next week and then you cancel or whatever. I would rather you be honest with me than pull that, because when I find out the truth, it hurts like hell. It hurts like hell. And if I like you, which is more than likely going to be the case if I'm trying to, hang out with you, because I'm not that much of a social person. I'm an introvert myself. Like, if I'm trying to hang out with you, then, I'm showing a level of trust. I'm showing a level of, like, the fact that I like you and I appreciate your presence and your company. Like, it's so shitty to lie to someone about that, because that just makes them feel worse. It makes me feel worse, because then it's like, not only am I not worth hanging out with, but I'm also not worthy of the truth. And then I start wondering about that, it's like, what is the truth? Why wouldn't you want to hang out with me? Did I do something wrong? It snowballs and it escalates because you've added that extra layer. It's like, not only why does this person not want to talk to me or hang out with me personally and all the stuff that comes with that, but also, why did they lie to me? Why do they feel the need to lie? Why don't they feel like they can be honest? Or why don't they want to be honest? And again, like, it can be something as simple as those sort of things, communicating with someone or hanging out with them in, at a coffee place or wherever. Or it can be something deeper. And it's so important. Honesty is so important. And I don't understand why people are so against it. Honesty is the best policy. It is going to hurt. And that is okay. It is okay for it to hurt, because at least you're being honest. Would you rather hurt someone more by lying to them? Because that adds an extra layer of hurt. It's like you're hurting them twofold, because you couldn't tell them the truth the first time. And just think about that for a second. Like, if you lied because you're trying to stop them from being hurt, you've just hurt them twice as much. Now ask yourself, is that really worth it? Or making yourself feel better because, like, I just pulled the I'm busy card and hey, maybe I am busy, or, like, no one's going to know that I'm not busy. And if they question it, then I can just be like, well, I have been busy, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can't lie to someone and call yourself a good person. You can't lie to someone and act like you did the right thing. You need to be honest with people. Everyone is worth honesty. Everyone is worth that much. Everyone is worthy of being told the truth. Everyone is worthy of being listened to. And it is so simple. It's not easy, but it's simple, because, again, look at the bigger picture. If you could just tell someone the truth and then, deal with the consequences at the time, deal with the pain at the time, then you move on. Or you can live with this lie and, the person might find out one way or another through a mutual party, through circumstance, or maybe you end up telling them the truth eventually. Like, think about it. It's so much simpler to just be honest with people. And, like, even when you're talking with someone, you don't have to always agree with people. It doesn't mean you have to fight. It doesn't mean you have to be aggressive or dismissive at the time just because you don't agree with someone. And the same goes for if someone approaches you because they want your advice. They don't have to take it. That's the thing. Like, you're not entitled to say they have to take your advice. You're not entitled to that. No one's entitled to that. Like, if they come to you for advice, then they're trusting you. They're trusting you a hell of a lot. The last thing they need is for you to get aggressive and start throwing your weight around being like, this is what I think you should do, and if you don't do it, then you're not my friend, or you're a shitty person. No, they're not. They came to you for advice, and it's their right and their choice whether they take it or not. And quite frankly, it's not okay for you to then shove it in their face if they decide not to take it. It is their choice, and the same goes for you. If you're in their shoes, you don't have to take someone else's advice. You don't have to do what they say. And that doesn't make you a bad person if you don't do that. And if it blows up in your face or their face, then it does. But that doesn't mean that they or you have the right to then make them feel worse about it, or to treat them like they're a shitty person or a bad friend because they didn't listen when you told them. They're human, and they have to learn these things, and so do you. And just because you ask for advice doesn't mean that you have to take it as soon as it's given. Or you can take parts of it. You don't have to take it 100%. Making demands like that is so unreasonable and so unrealistic, because everyone has to go through their own experiences. And even when someone makes a mistake, it doesn't automatically make them a terrible person. Or if they don't listen the first time, that doesn't make them a bad person. It just means that they didn't do that time. They made a mistake. Maybe it hurt you, or maybe it just bothered you. Maybe it didn't have any effect at all. Maybe it just affected them. Or maybe it just happened, Like, there's so much within it. It can be a really finicky thing, but we just need to be much more open about these things, and we need to really promote it. Just like self-care and positivity, in the last ramble. It's another thing that we really need to promote, both in society and in our lives, because it can save so much. It can help in so many ways. And if you had a choice between helping people or hurting them, can you honestly say that you don't want to help them? Like, come on. We're all human, and we're all prone to make mistakes in life. But we're all worth at least, 1 or 2 chances at least. I mean, unless they practice making people miserable every day, then I would question them. But 9 times out of 10, people don't do that. They don't want to make people miserable. They don't want to cause chaos. And they might make a mistake simply because they're human. They might slip up and do a bad thing, but that doesn't make them a bad person in general. And, even when you're communicating with someone and, like body language, for example, like when you're sitting there, if you're sitting in a coffee shop together, or if you're walking through a park, wherever you are, whatever you're doing at the time, when you're having a conversation, your body language and your eye contact can make such a difference. For example, like if you look on Google on tips to be an effective communicator, it's quite funny because one of the things that they say is constant eye contact. And it's like, I just imagine in my head, just like being there with someone, whether you're sitting, standing, whatever you're doing, and you're just staring at the person right in the eyes, just constantly staring. And it's just like, I know that's not what they mean when they say constant eye contact, but that's the first thing that, like, in my mind, it comes up as an image in my head. And it's hilarious because it would not make effective communication at all, because, like, you'd be seen as a creep. Like, you'd be making people uncomfortable if you just stared at them like that, especially keeping constant eye contact, because that can be a bit intimidating. But, like, it is important to maintain some level of eye contact, but don't stare. And, like, you don't have to glare at people all the time. You don't have to have raised eyebrows all the time or something like that. All these things add up to a message of some description that you are then omitting to this other person. And again, with your body language, like if you're leaning towards someone, if you're leaning away from someone. And again, in my head, I'm imagining, someone leaning all the way in or all the way out. And that's what you shouldn't do. You're not supposed to lean all the way across the coffee table and be like, I'm listening. You don't have to do that. And you don't have to be leaning away like, oh my God, you did not just say that. That's not what it's about. It's just about, like, the way that your body looks and is positioned does take effect, because people will see it as a form of interest or disinterest. It will show whether you're actively listening or not. And again, with active listening, it's not just about sitting there silently and listening to people. You need to show that you're actually understanding what they're communicating to you, whether, you ask them questions or whether you relay some of the information back to them. You need to show that you are actually communicating and listening and understanding them. You need to show that you're properly listening to them and understanding what they're telling you, because that makes such a big difference. If someone doesn't think that you're paying attention or that you're not interested, it can bring them down, and they're just not going to feel like they can communicate with you because they feel like you're not interested, or maybe they've upset you, whatever's going on. Like, these things make a big difference. And it can, again, lead to mountains out of molehills, when in the real life, in the big picture, it is a molehill, and it can be so simply dealt with. It's so easy. Like, I know communication isn't easy, but in the bigger picture, it is easy compared to other options, to other alternatives. Like, I'm not here to tell you that you have to constantly be overanalyzing everything you say, think, and do. That's not what you have to do at all. I'm not telling you to be perfect. I'm not telling you to go out there and overanalyze everything that you do or everything that someone else does, or correct yourself or them all the time. All I'm saying is that communication matters, and we really need to push for better communication. We need to practice methods of effective and proper communication with other people, and we need to encourage others to do the same. Because communication can save lives. Communication can do so many good things if done right. And, everybody wants that. Everybody wants a better future. Everybody wants a better world. And that comes with better communication, as well as other things. I'm not saying communication is everything, but it is involved in everything. And it affects everything. Because even if you do something really good in the world, you still need to communicate. You still, you can't there are not a lot of things that you can do in life without some form of communication. And at the end of the day, we all want what's best for ourselves and each other, We want a better world. We want a better life. We want to make others feel better. We want ourselves to feel better. And I'm not here to lecture you on how to be a better communicator, I listed some things before about active listening and effective listening, everything like that. But I'm not here to tutor you or mentor you. I'm not here to treat you like a child or anything like that. That's not what I'm here for. This is just me rambling and ranting, actually. This is more like a rant on communication, because so many times it's been a breakdown to a communication issue. And, if you need to take some time, if you're in the middle of a really difficult conversation and you need to take some time to figure out how to get your message across, then do that. Take those 5 minutes, step back, breathe, get a glass of water, and come back when you're in a calmer state, or when you think that you've got the right words in your head to say to better communicate what you're feeling or what's going on. Because, something as simple as your choice of words can make a difference in a conversation. And again, just having that calmer state of mind can also help. But it's all about communicating. It's so much about communication, and it's so important. And, I really want the world to be better, I want all of us to be better, and I know that we can be. I know that I need to work on my communication with people, and I'm trying to. I'm always trying to be better at that. And, I worry about it too much. Sometimes I do, and I'm honest about that. But I'm still trying. And I think that everyone can and should try to strive for better, because we can. And why wouldn't we want that? So, yeah, that's my ramble for today. More like a rant than a ramble. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it, I guess. I hope that I didn't make you feel confronted or intimidated or anything like that. Like, I'm not trying to make anyone anxious or upset. I'm just rambling and, yeah, getting stuff off my chest. So, I love you guys, and I hope that this might help somehow, or at least maybe give you a smile and a laugh, or, you'll be listening to this and be like, yes, that's exactly it. Or, whether you agree or disagree, comment down below, let me know what you think. Yeah, I'll try and think of the next topic for the next ramble. I'll try not to make it so long in between them, because it is fun to do. But yeah, I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you in the next audio. Bye bye.